So it's been 7 months since I last did a New Balance football boot review. I think that was a very big mistake on my part because I missed out on wearing these 7 months ago. This is the Tekela V4 Pro Low Plus, if I got that right. And of the 3 silos that New Balance carries, this is definitely the best. Unfortunately, the Tekela does compete in price with other control boots. It's still a little bit cheaper. It's $215, which for what I've gotten out of these boots so far and just how they look, I think that's a good price. Now, would I like them to be cheaper? Who doesn't want top-end football boots to be cheaper? But as far as construction goes, as far as what this boot is and the price, it I guess is fair. With that being said, we're gonna jump into the full review of the Tekela V4 Low Pro. So the Tekela V4 Pro Low and the Tekela V4 Pro, which is the high-cut laceless version of this boot, they both share the same sole plate. It's a mostly conical setup, and then you have these kind of blades all around the outside of the boot only, which that's kind of the only thing I dislike about this boot. I kind of alluded to how much I like it, but the sole plate's just where it gets a little bit iffy for me. Now, it's iffy to me because I think it's a bit of an aggressive sole plate, even though it's mostly conical. Those blades kind of just rub me the wrong way if I'm wearing them on turf. I did do probably half my time testing these boots out on turf, but that's mostly because it was a controlled environment. What I mean by that is I was setting the pace, I was doing the drills, I knew exactly what I wanted to do. It wasn't reacting to playing against other people, or somebody puts a cross in, now you have to react to that, and you're turning and cutting on turf, and I just didn't want to deal with that with this sole plate. And you definitely could. I have a few friends who I play with for my club who wear this boot on turf, but for me, just there's something that nags in the back of my head that I just don't want to wear this on turf in a competitive setup. Now on grass, however, I loved wearing these. I thought it was a very good sole plate. It digs into the grass nice. You're allowed to really cut hard off of it. It didn't really feel dangerous, I guess. I played a couple of just pickup games in them on grass. I had a couple really good training sessions, and besides those blades, I think this conical setup is very, very basic and very, very neutral, which is what you really need for football boots. I don't think you actually need anything aggressive, but some people do like that, which is fine. And if you take away these little outer blades or studs or whatever you want to call them, I believe the AG version of this boot actually is just all these conical studs, all these red ones, and then a few extra. I think that's a pretty cool sole plate. I've seen some people actually just shave off these like plastic blades on the outside. I personally wouldn't do that because I think that there's a reason they designed it with, how many studs, six or seven of these red studs, and then put these blades on the outside. So the boot might be a little bit unstable on turf if you do that. So I would not recommend doing that. I almost did just because, but I didn't end up doing it. So probably just wear this boot on grass. You could definitely get away with it on turf, but I wouldn't recommend it. The upper of this Tekela is what's called Hypo-Knit. So the entire upper is this knit material here, and then you have it kind of wrapped in this synthetic upper. That just allows for a better touch on the ball, in my opinion, because you're gonna have a lot more comfort. It's pretty thin as well. It's not very thick. So it just allows for you to get a better touch and experience for the boot. Now this one-piece knit upper itself, it's not any different from, let's say, the GX, the Predator Accuracy. It feels very similar. It does the same thing, but it's just nice that the entire upper is knit. After 10 to 12 hours of wearing this boot, it really starts to mold to your foot. The touch feels great. Striking feels super clean. It doesn't really feel like it has a grip element, even though, if it's hard to see here, it's kind of rib texturing on the instep and then the outside of the boot. I never really felt it there, but that doesn't really matter because this boot just feels so like shaped to your foot. It feels almost like you're wearing a sock with studs, but a lot more locked down and a lot more, boot-like, if that makes sense. It's a nice change of scenery from what we typically get from control boots. It's not really focused around grip. It's really just focused around comfort and performance. And, I like that because it feels like a lot of boots now, they're just doing stuff to make it a hyped boot versus actually making it a boot that's meant to perform well. And that's exactly what I would say this boot is a boot that's meant to perform well, and it does. The heel of the Tekela is what I would consider the biggest argument to back up a statement that this boot was designed for performance and comfort, because the construction is very different than any heel you will see on a pair of football boots. It's a lot more rounded out than it is straight down. So most typical football boots, you'll have a heel tab here, and then the boot kind of just goes straight down. So if you look at something like, I have a pair of Vapors here, it's a little bit rounded, but it's mostly just heel tap and then it comes straight down, versus if you look at how rounded that the Tekela is, it's a bigger difference. And it's very, very comfortable. Somebody like myself who has a lot of heel issues and I like stress fracture, you have a lot of padding back there. It's a fairly solid heel cup. You know, I'd prefer something maybe a bit more stiff, but for what it is, the design of it, it really fits a foot well. And this boot was designed for comfort. And while we're talking about comfort, I'll hit on break-in time. There's almost no break-in time for this boot. You slip it right on and it pretty much starts molding to the shape of your foot. Maybe you'll have just a little bit for the first 5 or 10 minutes, but I found this boot fit my foot very well. And speaking of comfort, I wanted to talk about the size and fit of this boot. I went with a 9 US, which is my typical size. I have heard that some people suggest going up 0.5 a size. So J Mike on Unisport, I think, said some people could get away with going up half a size. I know Noah Kavanaugh is, I think, mostly a 9 US, and he got these in a 9.5. I almost got these in a 9.5, but I have a really weird foot shape and size, so I just went with a 9, which is my typical size across the board for any boot when I'm testing them. And I was fine. There was maybe a little bit of pinching up in the toe box at the very top, but that has since ceased. It's, you know, widened out a little bit. It's fit my foot more. Like I said earlier, it really molds to the shape of your foot. And I don't have any issues with that. The comfort of this boot is insane. Like I said, the fit is great. I did not get the 2E version, which is the extra wide version that all New Balance footwear comes with as an option. Just because I think when I get the 2E models of boots, it just leaves a little bit extra volume, and I like tight fitting boots even though it hurts my feet. So I got the regular version. It was fine. I'm sure if you have wide feet, you'd probably rather get the 2E version, but you might be able to get away with the normal just standard fit. Now it is not a narrow boot, but it's also not a super wide boot. So you kind of just have to maybe try a pair out, send them back if they don't fit right, get another pair, but that's what I did. So I mentioned earlier the cost of this boot, which is $215, and I said for what you're getting, it's worth it. And one of the things you're getting is durability. Wearing these boots, again, I don't wear my boots that long. I told you guys I wear them 10 to 15 hours max. And that's just because I want to get an actual feel for boots. I don't want to just put them on my feet and give you a review because I don't know how they'll be when I wear them on a field. So you know, that's not a lot of time to see if a boot's gonna rip, but most Nike and Adidas boots within 10 to 15 hours show signs of ripping, at least from what I've done. I've always been hard on my boots, but that's ridiculous. The New Balance Tekela, no issues. I mean, I've scuffed the turf. I've worn them a lot on turf. I wore them a decent amount on grass, you know, cut big chunks of dirt and grass out from scuffing shots and kicking the ground, and nothing at all. You know, I really am trying here to get some separation, and I don't have any. And if you see, like, they've got a lot of ridges here where the sole plate connects. I feel like if this was an Adidas boot, you really push on one of those higher up edges, it separates. I've done that on my Preds. I've done that on some X's in the past, and even the new F50s, the laces pair I've done that. Not with the New Balance Tekela. And I think that really just goes off of New Balance cares about their consumers. I mean, they're a privately traded company. You can't buy stocks with them. Nobody is telling them what to do. The design of the boot, you know, I talked about this. It's really meant for performance and comfort, and that's what you really need from a pair of football boots. You know, I said the sole plate is a little bit, but it still holds together nicely. It can take a beating on turf. So I just, you know, it's a very, very durable boot. I would argue one of the most durable boots on the market, besides probably a handmade, made in Japan Mizuno, or some other hand stitch boot like maybe a Copa Mundial. Those things last forever. But for a modern control boot that is directly competing with Nike and Adidas, I think that in every aspect but grip element, it smokes them. And I could not understand why somebody would wear Nike and Adidas over this boot unless it's the striking elements and they feel that good in them, or just a hype thing. Like, I really think you should try this boot out. Competition wise, I've really kind of hit on this, but you're looking at the GX2, the Luna 2, and the Predator Elite. I don't think the Puma Future, which is the control boot for Puma, comes anywhere close to this boot. Now, if we're talking about grip knit, if we're talking about the, I think it's speed skin strike element, I think that's what's on the Predator, this boot's not gonna stand a chance because it has these little edges right here, these little raised bumps or elements, whatever you wanna call it, but It's not going to do that. But if you want to talk about durability, if you want to talk about, you know, comfort, performance, this boot is going to smoke them all. I really think it fits the feet well, or it fits feet well. It'll fit your foot well if you get the correct size. It's going to be comfortable. Nothing that those boots could offer. You know, maybe the Soleplate, maybe the GX2 and AG beats this Soleplate, but to be honest, I'm wearing this Soleplate with these kind of blades on the outside over that 360 Cyclone Soleplate. That thing just looks terrifying to wear on turf, so you're not catching me do that, and the Predator Elite studs are too long. So if I had to choose between those three boots, this is the pair I'm going with. So overall, I've said a lot about this boot. I've said it's comfortable, it's durable, you know, everything I've said is true. I believe it. I think that if you're somebody who values really good boots, you're a boot head, try these out. If you're somebody who's gonna buy one pair of boots for the next season and you're not gonna buy another, but you wanna spend decent money, get this pair. If you're somebody who believes that boots are position specific and you're a pacey winger who needs a speed boot, get the Furon or try the Furon. But anything else, any other position you play, if you value comfort, performance, get this boot. Like I said, with the Soleplate, just be a little wary, you know. You can definitely get away with wearing it on turf. I would recommend mostly grass, but you do you. So that's all I have for you guys today. If you like this review, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Check out the rest of the channel. We have tons of boot reviews on there, and I will see you guys in the next one.